So I've been away from here for like 2 days, and before that, I was keeping Cardi B in the cage like almost all the time. Like I only let her out for walking, and I didn't even let her out of the cage for the nighttime. But before I left, I let her out of the cage and just promptly left. But I think a miracle has happened. Now I'm back, and Cardi B is still out. You're still out. So I'm gonna give them a walk. We're gonna go for a walk because they've been so good while I was gone. So there has been something new and exciting happening in the background that I haven't really told you about yet. And that is that I bought some land. So because I want to have my own farm and homestead, I needed the land for it in a place that I really liked. And this place is perfect because there is no road noise here. And that is something that has been really bothering me in the place that I'm living at currently, which is my parents' house. And this place ticked all the boxes for me. So this land that I bought last week, the signing of the deed happened last week. This land has 12 hectares of unforested land, which most of which used to be used for a field, I think, and then also some like native grassland. And there's also like a couple hectares of forest land, but I'm not really interested in forest that much. And the 12 hectares is about 30 acres, I think, if I convert it correctly. And the reason why I wanted so much land that is unforested is because in the future, at some point, once I have my house and like all the chickens set up and like a livestock guardian dog for my chickens to guard from the foxes, I want to have sheep. I want to have a pretty big flock of sheep so that I can herd on my own land. That is like a dream of mine. It's been in the works for quite some time. I have been searching for a land that would tick all the boxes for me for literal years, and this time I actually found like the perfect land. It's pretty close to Tartu, which is like really nice, so I can still visit my family really easily when I want to. And yes, the main things that I was looking for is abundant grassland, not much of forest because I don't really know what to do with forest that much, and distance from big main roads so that I wouldn't get road noise in the place that I live at. And I managed to pay for most of it. My mother was super gracious and gave me a quarter of the money for the land, which was amazing. So that is my savings gone, but I am super grateful that my PhD salary has been able to support this dream of mine. And so the next step from here on out is to do all the projects and the negotiations with the county in order to get the project set of how I want the house and the barn and everything to be laid out, and then start doing the necessary first steps, which is getting a road access to the place where I want the house to be, get electricity set up, which is going to be pretty easy because the closest place where the electricity connection it would come from is like pretty close, so which is amazing. So that means that I don't have to pay out of my butthole for it. And also wells, and then hopefully in a year or two's time I will have the project approved by the county, and I will have a stable enough job after I finish the PhD to get a pretty big loan to make all of that happen, because as I said, that's all my savings spent on getting this land. But I am incredibly happy. It feels like my dreams are starting to come true, and it is amazing. I absolutely love it. But the project has already been put into motion. Me and my dad spoke to a company that's going to do the majority of the negotiating with the county, because that's going to be a lot of work that I don't know how to do, because all the projecting stuff is a completely foreign language to me. So the company is going to be doing that for me, and yeah, we have started the process of getting my dream farm built. I am like over the moon. The property does have a great big electrical line going through pretty much the middle of it, but it's not in the place where I want to have the house, and it's pretty out of the way from there as well, and there's some trees like hiding it from view, so that's totally fine. It's like the only downside that this property has for me. Here's a good overview spot. There's the electric line that's going through the middle of the land. Then roughly there, on that slope on the left, is where I want the house to go and everything. And where the car is at the moment is where the nearest road is, where we're going to, roughly where we're going to start the road that's going to come into the property. So yes, lovely views also in this land. Southern Estonia just has like the hills and just such pretty views. I love it here. I can't wait to have my own farm here. Okay, I came back home to walk the chickens, but I wanted to say, but I wanted to tell you about the reason why I am not buying like a ready-made house, and that is mainly because I couldn't find like a farmland with a house that would be in good enough condition for a good enough price. I'm gonna keep moving around to keep an eye on the chickens, but what I mean by that is that the majority of the farms or any kind of land house combination that I could find for the past couple of years on the real estate webs is like the majority of them were either option A, extremely run down but still at an extremely high price, which just didn't make sense for me because the presence of water and electricity is not that, like, does not add that much value to land when it has a house on it that is basically only useful for tearing it down and chipping it all away. And for me, it just didn't make sense to spend that much money on a house that was so run down that you would have to tear it down basically and start again, which you would have to do anyway if you just bought land. And the minority of the listings that did have a house on it were just like really, really nice houses and like very nice land, but just extremely expensive, like more expensive than I would ever be able to get a loan for. And that just also just did not make sense for me to get, because even as nice as those houses were, they hadn't been made to like my specific needs, because I want my house to have a pantry and like a walk-in closet to most rooms and like stuff like that. And eventually basically it started making more sense to me to just start looking for land instead of a ready-made house and living situation that I could move into. So while I was searching for the different house land combinations, I was also searching for just empty land at reasonable prices. And eventually that's how I ended up finding this one. And I am just over the moon that I found it and that I got it. And it's mine, and now I can start my dream of having a farm very slowly, but still. Like I'm still like this here is sort of my practice run with farming. It's not my land, it's my parents' summer house that is mainly made for living in the summer, so the insulation is not that great, but I'm living in it all year round now, and I've been living here for over a year a bit now. And I have the chickens here, which I've had for over a year now as well, and I'm gardening for the second year, and this is just like my country life practice run, and I would say that it's going really well because the majority of my chickens are alive and I have gardened a lot of food, which I am very happy about. And and most importantly, this kind of life makes me happy, which is like this confirmation that I needed to start working towards that larger goal of having a big farm with sheep, and in addition to the chickens with, and that is just and this confirmation that this kind of life makes me happy is just really great to have, because like my goal life is to have a work from home job that I can do very efficiently with like a 4.5 day week, roughly, and spend my time outside of work gardening and looking after the chickens and the sheep. Because I want to have more chickens so that I can have more eggs and that I can sell those eggs and like make my own company, like make my own farming company to sell my eggs and eventually the sheep meat as well. And just I am so happy that everything is just coming together. The chickens have found an ant nest, and of course, they are all about it. Did you find an ant nest? Are we having fun with ants? I always get the impression that Bianca is the bravest one of these four. So she's always the first one to check out something new. But I am so happy that the rooster chick has started to crow. That means that he is definitely a rooster. And I'm so proud of them. Scary cucumber, we have never had that. Hi, I haven't really filmed much because I have found a new computer game called Sunhaven that I have been absolutely obsessed with, and so I haven't done much else on my free time. But I've still been, walking the chickens, tending the garden, just nothing really exciting to show you, really. But now I wanted to show you the state of the greenhouse because it is really varied from last year. So this year seems to be not really a cucumber year because my plants are just really struggling to thrive. So when last year I was making like tons of pickles this time of the year, I'm not making any almost this year. So yeah, this is just not a pickle year. However, it is most certainly tomato and pepper year, because just look at the sheer amount of peppers that this one plant is making, and all of the plants are like this. These peppers are just going nuts with their producing, and soon you can see one starting to blush there. Soon they will all be nice and red and ready to eat, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with all of them, really. And the tomatoes are also doing really good. Like last year I didn't get as many tomatoes as I'm getting this year, and I've already harvested quite a bit of the big tomatoes, and also, oh my goodness, the cherry tomatoes, they are thriving. I have already harvested so much, and there are already so much more that are almost ready to eat. Now I have already harvested so many cherry tomatoes. For some reason this year they are not really as red as the ones that I had last year, but they're still done. Like they're not getting any more red, they're just orange this year. I don't know, I don't remember what kind it was. But my dad said that they taste fine. I don't eat them raw myself because I don't like the texture of like this mushy seediness that they have. So what I usually do when my family doesn't eat them all, I chop them in half and I dry them in my dehydrators for like a nice salty snack for the winter, which I did last year and it turned out great. So I'm going to do my first batch of sun-dried tomatoes of the year. And yes, as I've said, it's been a dream of mine to have my own farm with chicken and sheep and a garden and everything for several years now. I will make a different video on how I got to that dream being my new dream after I lost faith in academia. But it's important to keep in mind that this dream of mine is not going to happen overnight at all. It's going to take years and years to build everything up, and it's all going to be happening in stages. So now I have just done the very, very first step of getting the land for the farm. And the second step of starting all the projecting that I don't understand really what goes on with that, but that is also needed. I also started that, but the most important stuff, the part where I the part where you actually the part where we actually start building stuff, is ways away. It's a ways away because but the next step for me is to finish my PhD, because I'm not going to be able to get a loan for the build if I don't do that first. And that's going to happen sometime in late winter, early spring, depending on how much of an extension we're going to get, because the contract is set to end at the end of January, but we're probably going to do an extension because I think it might get a little bit too intense if we want to do everything that needs to be done and the thesis and everything before then. So I don't have an exact date for that. And the next important step will be to get a proper job for me. Hoping to get a job in programming, that is work from home. And I am really excited for that, because the programming has been one of the parts in my PhD that I have enjoyed the most. It's just fun problem solving that I really enjoy, and I think it would be great to have make a career out of that and have a job that centers around that. So that will be my next step, and I will be starting the job search in a couple of months probably. And once I have the job, I can apply for a loan. That will have to be a very large loan for building everything that the farm needs, from the living house, the chickens coop, and the sheep. What do you call it? It's going to be sort of like a sheep tent-ish. It's going to be like this big round hall that is built from just this really thick plastic, because sheep really don't need to have a heated space for them during winter, because they have the wool. They're going to be fine in a cold quarters. And also we will need a shed, and just the upkeep of the land is also going to take money until how could I forget, until I need to get a tractor as well, because that's going to be a necessary part for moving everything for the sheep, and also mowing the parts of the pasture that the sheep are initially not going to eat, because I'm not going to start out with 100 sheep. I'm going to start out with 10 to 15 sheep. I'm going to, that's my plan at least for now. But I'm not going to get the sheep for the first at least a year and a half that I'm going to be living there. The first thing that need to be built there is the living house and the chicken coop. And once those are done, then I can move in. But after that is going to be when the sheep dream is going to be slowly put into the works, because it's really, really important when you start farming / homesteading that you don't burn yourself out by trying to do too much at once, because I have seen this be said so many times, and I can definitely see the truth behind it, because I started my garden and my chickens at the same time, and that was a fair amount of work. But I don't really see how I could have started anything more than that, because starting having chickens and starting a big garden and a greenhouse all at the same time was a lot, especially on my long COVID-ridden self. But my father helped me a lot also at that time, and so I did the majority of the things with my chickens, but my father helped with a lot of the heavy lifting for my garden. So I guess this channel is going to slowly grow into how I grow my future farm and how I am planning to do everything. And just, I can't wait to set more of my plans into action because I have so many plans. I am very much a planner. People who know me know that. And it's going to be so great. Ah, yes, I am extremely excited for it. So I hope this video has been interesting, and I will see you in the next one.